Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance. And scrolling across the bottom is generally Founders Coffee, but we are announcing our new company today. We got approval in December. We're all excited about it. It's been a rush to launch. Now we're ready to go. It's I don't know. I'm just pumped. I got goosebumps right now. I'm so excited. Wednesday's my favorite day of the week. As always, I get to talk to incredible people and somebody that I am so proud and so honored to call my friend and partner, business partner. Koleya, how are you today?
It's what day is it? It's a Wednesday.
Hey.
I'm great. If I could remember what day of the week it was, even better. But no, I'm great. Thanks for having me on. Always love your show, Jade. Been
Well,
7 years.
we were talking, talking a little bit before. Obviously, we've been spending a lot of time together getting the blockchain insurance up, and we'll dive into that really, really, really soon. It's exciting times for us. It's been a 3-year journey, lots of ups and downs, lots of cursing, lots of bubbly, lots of what else? Lots of what else?
It's a learning curve. This is the fourth business I've started in my life. I currently have 3 running simultaneously, but my first business I ever started, I think that lasted for about 17 years. And now just being, that multifaceted entrepreneur, but also really focusing in that intentional congruency. Like the consortium is really a strong focus. And then the other businesses that support the consortium and the insurance is something that, 4 years, people have heard me ramble about this. And I definitely had moments where I was like, am I talking out of my backside? Am I ever going to get a license for this? Like, it was that perpetual conversation. So to see it finally get licensed and come to fruition, it just felt like such an incredible milestone, in my entrepreneurial journey.
It has been something else. It's been a big learning curve, especially on the regulatory side, and see how it works, learning a lot about insurance. And I want to kind of just dive back a little bit. We won't go back to how the consortium started. We've talked about that in a couple previous times. But I want to go back. You and I, have known each other now for 9 years, been part of the consortium for about, that same amount of time. We kind of met after an Energy Now magazine article. We reached out. We lived in the same area, Calgary. We went for coffee. Yeah, and the kind of the rest is history, and it's been a wonderful journey on my end, and I hope yours. But just throw that in there. It's on me now. But I want to dive into that aha moment of the now the Blockchain Insurance Incorporated, because when Alberta government announced that captive insurance, and it was kind of like, oh my goodness. Share that story on how that conversation started with government and how it's kind of evolved, and we'll dive in after that.
Absolutely. So the cool thing about the consortium, we have been very consistently and very actively engaged with industry. We meet with our members individually every single month. We learn about their struggles. We learn about what's going well. We learn about areas that, they'd like our focus on from a regulatory government engagement side. And the predominant thing that just kept coming up was like difficulty accessing insurance. And we were invited by Minister Travis Taves at the time. He was our Minister of Finance in Alberta to support an announcement that they were doing on a new regulatory sandbox for the province of Alberta. That I believe, we'd done a few really successful sandboxes, like Tetra Trust came out of one of the Alberta sandboxes. And so we're excited to be a part of this announcement. And during the minister's Q&A period, he had made a comment about the companies requiring insurance to be able to access the sandbox. And so after I had a really great opportunity to meet with the minister, and I told him, I was like, you've kind of created a really high barrier to entry. I was like, because if the companies are looking that are potentially startups and they want to go through the sandbox to test a product on the market, and they already have to have the regulatory compliance cost and burden, I was like, you've now made it almost unattainable, because the price of insurance, people were paying like 10 to 15% of premium. And just for people who aren't aware of this, if anyone's ever tried to get insurance, and say directors and officers insurance, my business previously, I used to design combustion heating systems for oil and gas and aviation. So the things I designed were literally hooked up to very expensive pieces of equipment, like multi-million dollar piece, like airplanes, right? And if I did something wrong, I could have made it go boom, boom. My D&O insurance for that, I was spending maybe $1,700 a year for $2 million in coverage. If I was a digital asset company trying to get $2 million in coverage, I could be paying upwards of $150,000 US per year.
Wow.
So it's very, very expensive. So trying to explain that to the minister, and his response back to me was, well, in a month, the policy regulation, I guess it's going to get passed through caucus that we're now doing insurance and reinsurance, so captive insurance and reinsurance in the province of Alberta. And basically what they did is they mirrored Bermuda. And I've been to Bermuda before. Great place. The premier is a wonderful man. And they really are the insurance capital. So the fact that they took what was working and they mimicked it in Alberta, and he was just like, why don't you start that? I was like, well, that's really, really interesting. So I left that building. I called my insurance broker, and my first question was like, what's a captive? He's like, we need to talk. I was like, okay. So I had no idea what it was whatsoever. I had a meeting with them, and I was like, I really feel like I could do something with this. And it was interesting because the first couple people that met me, the first couple conversations was very like, oh, you'll be lucky if you can have any like portion of this company, like if it's actually going to be a business for you, like it's, you know, most likely you'll be heavily diluted, having to raise funding, and it's very capital intensive and all these other kind of things. But I got really lucky, and I met this amazing woman, Valerie Casano, who has literally been on this entire journey with us. I'm so grateful that she still stays because it did take 4 years, and she worked with the regulators and worked through everything. And you know, she really taught me about captives and insurance. And I will say, at no point in my life did I ever assume I would understand securities law, regulation, insurance. Those kind of things were not in my wheelhouse. Is not stuff I went to school for, thinking like at some point one day I will be a lobbyist and I will run an insurance company. So it's definitely a learning curve that was pretty high. But yeah, it's kind of how the idea started, and then meeting the right people along the way, and then realizing we were going to do something a bit more unique. So normally an association-based captive, which, you know, exciting. We are the first in the world that we are aware of right now that's been able to do an association captive specifically for digital asset companies. We can do boutique insurance. We can customize packages. So the fact that we got that license is amazing. You know, the regulators, there was a lot of education back and forth with them on that. It's traditional insurance. So it's not like we're insuring people's crypto. We're insuring their business because they have a difficult time getting access to that just due to a lack of data from like actuarial history data, or potentially just a perceived risk around it. So being able to provide that, working with Val on that, and getting that license approved was definitely a journey, but really a really exciting one. Learned a lot, and we designed it so it's actually a separate business. So it's a joint venture partnership between our consortium, right? So the Canadian Bitcoin Consortium and Blockchain Insurance Inc. We have a partnership. So the insurance company, it's not a public insurer. You have to be a member of the consortium to be able to gain access to it, and we have great rates for members. But it is a separate for-profit business because our consortium was a not-for-profit, and we didn't want to have to do the changeover and all the things that would be required. So creating it as a separate entity and a separate business was really important. And yes, that's a bit of that journey.
No, and it has been an interesting journey, that's for sure, especially the last 4-ish years. But I mean, again, I'm talking with Koleya Karringten, the founder of Blockchain Insurance. You can click on the website in the comments section. You can also learn more about our Bitcoin Consortium. Click on the link in the comments section. You know, a lot of the work that we've done over the last, I want to say 5 or so years, especially with trade mishing. You know, I want to talk a little bit about the build up to this, you know, the launch, and going to Texas, working with miners, working with things, helping with the data center with the Alberta government, having the support of the Alberta government has been a really instrumental part of actually now launching this part of what we're doing, you know, with the blockchain insurance. So why don't you kind of share a little bit about that? Because sometimes people are always, government's involved, or, you know, UCP, you know, whatever it is, right? But, you know, this is good for Alberta. It's another good success story for Alberta. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about that.
About the trade missions in particular?
Yeah, and how all that led up to this as well. I mean, there's been a lot of work that we've done in the past 4 or 5 years that have led up to this success, especially with the Bitcoin Consortium.
No, for sure. So I'll give a little background history. So when I was designing the combustion systems, I worked, I guess, in a sense, closely with the government. Like I was very lucky to get access to grants, and I was lucky to get access to a lot of support from government in being like a tech startup in Alberta. And they had taken me on a lot of really great trade missions. I had gotten a chance to go to Asia. That's where I got a partnership. Funny enough, I went to Japan to build a partnership with the Edmonton International Airport for the ground service heating equipment. I got to go to Mexico for conferences like FAMEX. I got to go to the Middle East. I was the first female speaker at the inaugural World Middle East Heavy Oil Congress, and I was talking about heavy oil extraction and combustion technologies. And so I really experienced that the opportunity to build relationships during trade missions is incredible, right? And I did more business with the people I was on those trade missions with than I did with people in the jurisdictions that I was going to. And so when the consortium started to get a bit more engaged, and I got a chance to meet with Lee Bratcher, who was the president of the Texas Blockchain Council at the time, I asked him, I was like, I'd really love to figure out some like bilateral relationships. Like, how can we engage and invite people like our members down to your events, your members up to our events? And so the idea for the trade mission kind of came from wanting to encourage American investment, or broader investment into Alberta. So we started pitching this with Jason Kenney's government when he was the premier. And the idea was like, let's sell our energy on the internet. If we can't get it on a pipeline, we have a difficult time getting it, just cross provincial borders, let alone we have one trade partner, which is the States. We're disallowed to get it on access to a boat. I was like, we have this incredible abundance of resources in Alberta. We can literally turn these molecules into electrons, and we have this amazing opportunity to, instead of having all this extra infrastructure to send it outside of our province, maintain it within our province, but then, put generators and have data centers come in. And I was like, if we put this infrastructure in for Bitcoin mining, you'll attract the AI data centers as well. And he liked the idea, but it really got sold with Premier Smith when she got elected. It was her first summer, I think, of being elected. And she attended my second trade mission. And there we were able to get a minister mandate. I was like, if we could get a minister, so the first one in Canada, if we can get a minister that's like specifically mandated by the premier to support the work we're doing and attend these trade missions with us, I was like, it'll give it the credibility for these other jurisdictions to say that we're taking this seriously. We want this business here. And the Alberta Advantage and Alberta Open for Business, it really sprung from that. So we were able to bring the minister on our kind of like first or second outbound trade mission, I would say that, down to Texas. And he had an amazing time. He got to meet with a lot of great companies. And those companies, after meeting him, they wanted to come up for our trade missions in Alberta. So we're about on this year will be our fifth annual trade mission in the summer. Last year we had 85 companies. So it's an invitation only event. We don't make it public, but we had 85 companies, and they're coming in from like South America. They're coming in from all across North America. They're coming in from Europe. They're coming in from Asia. And we're seeing like billions and billions of dollars of investment. We're hearing some companies say we want to do up to 10 gigawatts in power deals. We have like, I think the smallest client I have right now is looking at 125 megawatts. This is an incredible amount of off-grid power generation that's coming into the province, specifically because the government's being supportive and we're creating a really amazing environment. Why that matters. So for the insurance company, these businesses coming here, they're going to need access to insurance. Right. So that's going to be a benefit. And the consortium supports them with the government relations side, the industry engagement side, the regulatory and compliance side, connections within the ecosystem. So it kind of works in tandem. So that's how the trade missions kind of came about.
No, and we have been getting an amazing amount of support from the Alberta government, which is awesome because none of this is possible without them creating the captive insurance, and none of this is possible without them, helping us and being there and wanting to be that forward looking in technology, data center, anything, online. And it's been a wonderful experience working with them.
It has. Like, they are a wonderfully supportive government, and I would say like we just to not pigeonhole us, we are a national association. So in terms of our government engagement, like we sit on the Financial Policy Council for the federal government. We also sit on Finance Canada's Anti-Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Committee. We are a special project under the Premier provincially, and we engage in, government and regulatory relations in British Columbia, Alberta, Quebec, and Ontario, the kind of like the four kind of key jurisdictions that data centers and financial services companies are. So we are very broad in that sense. We focus in on Alberta because it's the only province right now that does not have a moratorium, that has very friendly regulators and government when it comes to the energy side. We don't have a moratorium on Bitcoin mining data centers, which is really great. So it's creating a really wonderful environment to at least attract them into Canada. And then we're working on, getting more friendly opportunities in other provinces, because they're able to see the value, the jobs, the economic growth, the billions of dollars of investment coming into Alberta. The government's even building out a roadmap in Alberta. We're hoping to share that with other provincial governments and say, look, this is an opportunity for you as well. You'll generate an incredible amount of revenue if you're able to, overcome the bias that is with the Bitcoin mining side of the space, or crypto in general.
Or crypto. Again, if anybody wants more information on the Canadian Bitcoin Consortium, click on the link in the comment section, and you'll be able to find it there. So I want to dive into a little bit of the insurance. It's been nice. We've built out a great team. We've got Chelsey. I'm sure she's listening right now. She's been an amazing addition to. She'll be kind of running. You've mentioned Val already. So let's talk a little bit about the process. You did it a little bit of a high level, and let's say Jade's Bitcoin miner company wants to come in, and I'm looking for insurance. Let's walk through a little bit of that process.
Sorry, the process for what we're doing
to qualify for insurance. How would we do if I want to look for insurance? I want to reach out to us. What's that first step?
So I would say the first step is, are you a member of the consortium, right? Because this is not a public insurance, right? This isn't the same as going and getting your automotive insurance. So looking into the consortium and joining us as a member, reaching out for a phone call. We'd love to learn more about what it is that you do. And just, again, the qualifying is we do not insure losses on crypto. We do not insure the value of crypto. So I just want to make it really, really clear on that side, because some people think, oh, it's a crypto insurance company, therefore, like, in case I have a loss, now I'm covered. No. Traditional business insurance. One thing I will also say is you don't just have to be a digital asset business. You don't just have to be a miner. You don't just have to be, a financial services business in the digital asset space. Maybe you're in cannabis. Maybe you're in real estate. Maybe you're having a difficult time accessing commercial level insurance because, the rates are absolutely outrageous and things like that. So reaching out to us, learning and letting us learn more about what you're looking for, if our policies fit. Right now it's directors and officers, it's product, it's liability, there's cyber. We're going to be growing the types of policies that we hand out to you, but those are kind of our base starting points for right now. We need to understand your risk profile, right? So there'll be like a non-disclosure agreement that we'll have signed right away to make sure that, sorry, busy house, that we're not sharing your information publicly, but just to give our captive manager and our VP an opportunity to review and assess. And then if we know that you'll qualify, that's when we'll say, okay, we know your risk is good. This is what you qualify for. This is what a quote would look like. Now you'd need to join. And we'll have an affiliate member option as well to join for the purposes of the insurance. And then from there, once you've signed up and you're committed as a member, then we'll be able to place your policy.
So it's going to be very hands-on, very personal process that somebody's going to go through.
Definitely. And because it's boutique, right? Like, so we have an opportunity, like if you have existing policies and you're like, oh my God, I'm paying these kind of rates, what could we get from you? And ideally we'll be able to have better rates because of the fact that, we're acting more as group insurance than individual. Then you'll be able to come in and we'll see how we can customize it, how we can make sure that the policy fits for you and your business specifically. Now, because we're new, we're also not going to be accepting like high risk clients. So if you have a high history of claims, we're not going to be for you, because this is a captive. It's an association based captive, and we're not looking to blow up our organization within, the first year of us starting. But, if it's fairly safe, traditional insurance, low risk, we're able to assess it that way, and we can customize and maybe even replicate the wording of the policy that you currently have because you like it. And then we just become your underwriter.
Again, anybody wants any more information, please reach out. Our website launched today. A lot of people behind the scenes. Thank you, Zane. Thank you, Kim, that went behind here that to get this up and running. So you can reach out to us. Everything is active right now. It worked out to be good timing. We wanted it a little earlier, but hey, we're here now. So I want to kind of talk about a little bit more on where we're going to go next. Like what do you, I want a little bit more of the vision of long-term, maybe a little bit of maybe short-term vision for the insurance company, and then maybe long-term vision of what you see as maybe a 5 to 10 year goal for blockchain insurance.
Oh goodness. Well, short
I know
term.
sometimes it's hard. We've been such in the weeds for the last it's like, oh yeah, there is a vision.
Well, I definitely have long-term visions, but so when I think of my businesses, I think, okay, I have one that focuses, it's a bit of an engineering team that focuses on helping data centers. And there's one, the consortium, which is government and regulatory. And then I have the insurance side. So my long-term vision for how I see my businesses growing, very strong. And then there's a fourth one that I want to add in the next 5 years. But oh goodness.
Oh, you're back. We're good.
Okay, sorry. But
that's why we love live. You never know what's going to happen.
Focusing, so we can sell insurance anywhere in the world. I really want to focus on the North American market. So one of my goals to start is, because the insurance company has a joint venture partnership with the consortium, I'd love to develop out joint venture partnerships with other industry associations that qualify, so that we become an amazing benefit for their members, right? They gain access, they can get great insurance, reasonable rates. And so that's one of our focuses, is how do we start growing across North America, making sure that our members are able to, onboard with us. And we're already having great conversations with them. So we should have some pretty realistic growth in the next short period of time. And then I'd like to potentially start, with Val's support, a secondary captive out in, I believe it's Barbados, is we're kind of looking at as well, because there's some areas from a jurisdiction perspective that we can do direct insurance. So we are the underwriter, and there's some where we'd have to be a reinsurer. So looking at other areas where we can do a second captive, still same company, but it's a partner business with us in those locations, so that we can become direct insurers to more spaces globally. So that's probably that 5-year goal, is how do we make sure that we keep breaking out and start hitting the European market and hitting the Asia market. But we really want to just focus for the short term. North America, we have a lot of great connections there. Our membership is global, so we do have members from around the world, so we could already start with that. But just in terms of our presence, going out internationally and trying to gain more clients for the insurance business, international, probably, Europe, Asia, next 3 to 5 years, but North America really over the next 2. And then I'd say in 10 years, so this is my big aggressive goal, I would love to start a bank for our members as well. So helping the industry gain access to the financial services sector, because if there's 2 things that I've heard that are problems nonstop in the last 10 years, it's banking and it's insurance. And it was easier to start an insurance company than it was to start a bank. But I'd love to be able to support our members being able to get access to those financial services with USD and CAD rails. So long, aggressive goal, in the planning stages right now. But so far, anything I've planned, I've been able to accomplish. So I'm really hopeful that in the next 10 years, I'll have what I'm strategizing about.
Well, I mean, you always need short-term and long-term goals. And I mean, when you look at, how this has gotten off the ground and started, and the team that's now assembled, I think it's these goals are definitely achievable from our side.
No, they are. It's actually
right.
Well, I've been looking into it. It's especially for credit union style, and the value proposition that we have is unique. So, and being in Alberta, we're very much pioneers. There's really nothing that you can't create in Alberta. From my start, I'd say, God, this is more than 17 years ago, 2005. I was a single mom with a 4-month-old baby, and I started a business designing heating systems for oil and gas. Like, the fact that I could do that and accomplish that, like, yes, this is definitely first world privilege to have those opportunities, to have shareholders that came in and supported me throughout that journey. It was definitely an incredible learning experience trying to get that out and commercialized, and all of those lessons I've been able to take in and bring into the consortium and the insurance company and my other ones. So it's a great place to live and raise a family and do business.
I couldn't agree more. I love this province, and since we sold our first company, it's just about 9 years ago now. The Alberta community, the Alberta ecosystem, the Alberta family is unlike anywhere in North America. I mean, even in Canada. I mean, it's a prairie way. We help each other. There's always somebody to introduce, to open a door, to make sure that you get the support that you need, and I think that's what differentiates us from anybody in the world. And I do not see that changing anytime in the future.
Agreed.
I agree. I agree as well. I'm always, these, like I said, Wednesdays are my favorite day of the week. I get to talk to incredible people like yourself. You're probably one of the people on this show that I've had a relationship with for the longest amounts of time, and been on this journey. But I do have, one question that I like asking to finish off, my shows. Over 400 episodes. I thought that I would be done with this question literally after, 20 episodes, if I made it to 20. And And if you had one piece of advice for a founder, startup, or entrepreneur, what would that be?
The strongest piece of advice I could give anyone: support your mental health. The strongest piece of advice possible. So when I started my journey, I probably started the self-development work when I was 18, right? For those of you who've seen any of my mental health podcasts or my keynotes or, discussions on that, my background, the way I was raised, it didn't set me up for success from a mental health perspective. And so I started working on that. When I started my first business with my dad, I kept it going. It was, I was not a very wealthy single mom. So it was like the little bits sporadically. And then, because I started my business, my combustion company, with my father. And when he passed away, I really leveraged in, and I was working with this amazing woman named Suze Casey. And it's kind of like a version of cognitive behavioral therapy, where it like repatterns your neural pathways to help you think from a more positive perspective. Because when you are an entrepreneur, it's not easy, right? Like, you got the weight of the world on you. You're like, how am I going to manage payroll? The amount of times where I would just sit there stressing, like, at one point I was also married. It was like, okay, so I have to support my husband. I'm now pregnant with another child. I have a child to support. My dad's passed. I got to support my mom, my sister, all this financial burden. There's staff, there's shareholders, there's all these other things. And you're just like, how do I keep going, but in a way that's going to take care of the business, take care of my family, and take care of me. And yourself is always the last thing that anyone ever focuses on when you're in that position, right? You're just like, you're grinding. You're like, I have deadlines. You're like, I got to do it all myself. I got to, every task seems to be yours. You're the chef, the cook, the bottle washer, whatever it is. And having that kind of support and multiple different types of therapy, like, I think I calculated well over 10,000 hours of just like development work in the last 20 years, because if it wasn't for supporting my mental health, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, right? Being able to reframe obstacles as opportunities, being able to understand, like, I still don't know what work-life balance is. I think it is absolutely an ethereal, it's a mystery to me, but I take time to focus on myself. I take time to do self-care. I take time to focus on my children. I take time to focus on my business. So being able to find, whatever sits for me as balance. Some weeks I might work more. Some weeks I might be able to take a bit of time off, being able to rely on my team. But if you don't support your mental health, I've heard stories and I've met people, and it's really unfortunate what can happen there, right? And having that mental health support helps you with resiliency, because I've heard 1,000 no's before I got a yes, but I didn't stop because I was hearing no. And I could have taken it as rejection. I'm not good enough. I'm not valuable enough. My ideas suck. Or I could have gone, what do I have to keep doing? How do I grow or modify, or just having that belief in yourself that no, I will eventually overcome all of this and I will get that yes. And then when you get to that yes, it's like, now you also need support. That's like we were talking earlier today. Like I was up at 2 a.m. this morning going, okay, well, it's licensed and I have shareholders and I have responsibilities and I have staff. How am I going to make sure that we bring in enough revenue and X, Y, and Z? And that does, it wakes me up. And it's like, shit, sorry, I'm cursing, but like, what the frick do I do now? And then I have to remind myself, nope, you have tools. You've done this before. And if I need help, like I work with my therapist every single week. We start off on a Monday and just like set the tone, set the intention, what's going well, what do I need to focus on, is there stuff that I need to kind of like reshift in my thinking, and also just like changing the energy, right? Like it's really, really helpful. So I know I kind of ranted on about that, but I don't think I could, emphasize more that your mental health is the most important aspect of this journey. If you want to be an entrepreneur, don't neglect yourself, don't neglect that, because you'll be really successful if you get your mind right. You keep your mind right.
Well, could not agree more. I mean, obviously it's a topic that I speak about and live and I'm very passionate about, and put myself out there and shared our story, and honestly, Sue's saved our, saved Kath, right? I mean, when you told us about what she did for you, and Kathy has that more of a belief of that alternative, not your psychology, as I think that was your phrase I use all the time. You walk in there, you unpack your shit, and an hour later you pack it back up and you leave. Right. And that's just not something that, works. And Sue's is incredible. And Kathy still works with her as well on at least a bi-weekly basis. So, and what works for me won't work for you, and might not work for somebody else, but it's a journey you don't have to take alone. There's lots of support out there in our community, and everybody will spend a little bit of time with you and listen. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being vulnerable, because I think it's extremely important for people like yourself, myself, and all the other people out there, Crystal Phillips, that talk about the struggles and that it's not easy, and sometimes it's not fun. Because it gets glorified, and the reality of it is it's a struggle, but it is a journey you don't have to take alone.
Absolutely. It's not an easy journey. Like, it is not for the weak. If you want to start your own business, it's not for the weak. You really do need support. It's like, and we all go further together. The idea that we can do it alone. I was really lucky. My dad gave me the opportunity to get a lot of amazing mentorship. So when I was younger, I think early 20s, he sent me all across North America. I got, coaching from guys like Eric Trump, Jay Abrams, Nito Cobain, like all these amazing business moguls. And this one of my coaching sessions, I learned one of the most valuable things: focus on your A-list tasks. When I say that, what are you good at? And I'm not a bookkeeper, so why am I doing my own bookkeeping? I'm not a lawyer, why am I making my own contracts? Right? Like, if this is not my skill set, why am I spending part of my energy on it? And when I started focusing on my A-list tasks and then really focused on intentional congruency, everything within my life right now, it's a rising tide floats all boats. It doesn't matter that I have 3 separate businesses. If one business does well, it impacts the other 2 in a positive way, because everything's tied in really well. And I focus on what I'm good at, and I delegate what is just doesn't suit for me. But I'm also able to do that because I have the support from a really awesome network of, probably a bit more on the alternative mental health coaching side, but I'm able to go, okay, this is what I want to focus on. This is how I want to feel. This is what I'm good at. Now let's go and implement those things. So those are some just added little tidbits. If you're an entrepreneur, I know it's not easy, but also don't be in your business as much as you think you need to be. If you're on it a bit more, you can actually get more done. You're more productive than if you're trying to do absolutely everything.
Absolutely. What an incredible conversation. And again, for anybody out there that wants more information on blockchain insurance, click on the website, and the Canadian Bitcoin Consortium. It's in the comment section. Away we go, Koleya. It's been a wonderful 9-year journey. I can't wait for another 9+ years on where we're going. Thank you for everything you do, your leadership, and all the support you give people in our community, because sometimes it just goes unnoticed, and it shouldn't. And it's gonna be a fun ride.
I'm excited. I'm glad you're on it with me, though.
Oh, me too. Again, I hope everybody stays warm this Wednesday. I know we're going to go through a cold spell here, but we're going to have one more show next week, and then we're off for 2. We got to go to a conference, and then we're hosting our event on March 11th in Toronto. So if anybody's out there, again, click on the website. We'll go there. And I got Mary and Brandon, the founders of Hoodoo, on next week. So I'm excited about that conversation. And I'm excited about the rest of today. So, Koleya, I look forward to seeing you around, probably 1:30, and then probably going for supper. And yeah, thank you again for coming on, and thank you for being you.
Thank you.